Hello there! Come Wednesday, Disney will release their 50th animated feature, Tangled. I'm very much looking forward to it, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I know it's a traditional fairy tale musical based on the story of Rapunzel. Not that Disney wants you to know that, so keep it on the hush-hush. Anyway, one of the creative minds behind Tangled is Glen Keane, one of today's best animators, who, while devoted to the pencil and the art of drawing, has constantly been about pushing the possibilities of technology further. In a way, his interest in drawing can be traced back to his father, Bill Keane, the creator of the long-running comic strip Family Circus, and Glen was actually the inspiration for young Billy. Keane started his animating career working at Filmation on Star Trek the Animated Series, and then moved on to Disney working under Ollie Johnston. The first film he worked on was The Rescuers, in which he helped animate Bernard and Penny, and already his impressive ability at bringing realistic human and animal movement to animation was evident. That same year, he helped animate Elliot in Pete's Dragon, notably the first Disney animated feature which none of the 9 old men worked on. However, in addition to the soon-to-depart Don Bluth, Keane also worked alongside other recent college graduates like Randy Cartwright and Ron Clements. Keane's most notable partnership at Disney was in the early 1980s with John Lasseter, prior to the future Pixar chief being fired. The exciting bear sequence in The Fox and the Hound is an impressive accomplishment of hand-drawn animation, with every moving piece of the animal moving realistically and managing to get around the cutting of corners that was happening at the time. Keane also helped animate the characters in Lasseter's test for Where the Wild Things Are, combining hand-drawn characters with computer-generated backgrounds, many years prior to Beauty and the Beast. Around the same time, he also worked as a freelance artist, and returned to his family heritage by working on a couple of Family Circus holiday specials. He also served as a character designer on The Black Cauldron, and he also served as an animator and storyboard artist on this.
Sun goes down, I'm just getting up. I'm heading for the city lights. Radio blasting all the way to the club. Gonna rock this town tonight.
Ross Bagdasarian and Janice Carmen managed to hire some Disney animators to work on the film, most notably Glen Keane, who worked on the most famous sequence in the film and probably one of the better animated scenes, not that it's saying much. The sad irony is that a little over 20 years later, this franchise will be directly responsible for the title being changed on Keane's pet project.
From the brain that brought you the Big Ben caper, the head that made headlines in every newspaper, and wondrous things like the Tower Bridge job, that cunning display that made Londoners sob. Now comes the real tour de force, tricky and wicked, of course.
Glen Keane returned to the Disney Studios through the animation on Professor Radigan in The Great Mouse Detective. You can really see how much fun Keane had in drawing this outlandish character, and he really utilizes each muscle to perfection, even down to the neck. Of course, when you have Vincent Price voicing a character, it adds to the work Keane brought to Radigan, which he helped in making one of Disney's most fun villains. For Oliver and Company, Keane looked into both the good and bad sides of the underworld by not only animating the sympathetic Fagin, but the villain Sykes as well. Drawing him mainly on the shadow, you can feel the menace supplied by the character that Keane brought out in spades.
Accident! Mr. Fagin! Sorry. Now, I lent you money, and I don't see it. Do you know what happens when I don't see my money, Fagin? People get hurt. People like you get hurt. Do I make myself clear?
However, Keane did not just devote his time to animating villains. Probably his most delightful and certainly the best character he's been responsible for is Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Taking cues from his wife, as well as live-action model Sherry Stoner and Alyssa Milano, he brought out the spunk and likability of the character in everything from the eye movements to the way she bites her lip. Keane is especially able to convey emotions very well after Ariel loses her voice. Probably one of the hallmarks of Keane's career is the Part of Your World sequence, which he animated all by himself, so you can imagine his shock when he found out Jeffrey Katzenberg planned on cutting the sequence.
Out of the sea. Wish I could be part of that world.
Another excellent sequence animated by Glen Keane is the flying scene that opens The Rescuers Down Under, in which he drew the movements for the great eagle Marahute. 20 years before Avatar and How to Train Your Dragon, Glen Keane manages to effectively bring the wonderful feeling of flight to the big screen, all with pencil and paper and without the 3D spectacles. Though in the unlikely chance that Disney decides to re-release The Rescuers Down Under in 3D, I would welcome it with open arms.
Animators are cast to a character like actors are. And for this film, I've been cast as a huge eagle. I mean, I've been a little tiny mouse, I've been a dragon. In the last film, I was a mermaid. In this one, I get to fly. So I'm animating Marahute, who is an eagle with maybe a 40-foot wingspan. I study a lot about how things move and know about animals.
Keane continued to take on animals by drawing up the beast in Beauty and the Beast. Combining the parts of a lion, a buffalo, a wild boar, a gorilla, a wolf, and a bear, he created a hybrid creature that was very much believable in his movements. Much like the aforementioned films, there is one sequence that so perfectly shows how skillful an artist Glen Keane is, and in Beauty and the Beast, it's a transformation scene that actually shows the audience step by step his turning back into a human. Even watching the uncolored, unfinished version, there's much to be impressed at, and you notice the care of the pencil lines to make sure he remains consistent, even though he's transforming into a different species. He was then given the title character of Aladdin to draw, and again created a likable personality who looked at and moved like a human being without making the audience forget that this is an animated character. Considering that Aladdin was changed midway during production from looking like Michael J. Fox to having a Tom Cruise look, shows the versatility of Glen Keane's talent. Also impressive is, even though Mark Henn, the supervising animator on Jasmine, was all the way in Orlando, Keane could seamlessly combine their scenes together despite working in Burbank, California. Glen Keane took on one of his biggest challenges by animating a real-life person in Pocahontas, and he managed to completely succeed in bringing her to the drawing desk. A composite of different models, Keane gave her a very regal quality, and though it's questionable how realistic her figure is, she is nonetheless terrifically animated. After moving to France, Keane was then asked to help animate Tarzan, and here showed how perfect Sir Edgar Rice Burroughs' iconic character was suited to animation. Keane realized that Tarzan could move like an ape the way a real-life actor would not be able to realistically do, thus really getting into how a man raised by apes would act. For the tree surfing scenes, he even took a lot of inspiration from pro skater Tony Hawk due to how he moves through the jungle is done in a similar manner to how Hawk is on the slopes. He would really combine hand-drawn and computer animation in a major way when he brought Long John Silver to life in Treasure Planet. With the science fiction theme of the film in place, Keane gave Silver more electrical moving parts, which were then brought together seamlessly via computer. Shortly after completing work on Treasure Planet, Glen Keane got to work on a project he'd been dreaming up since the late 1990s, an adaptation of Rapunzel. However, with the recent success of Shrek, he was asked to make it a computer-animated parody called Rapunzel Unbraided, instead of the traditional fairytale musical he had planned. However, despite retiring the pencil, he still wanted to use the computer in a unique way by having the characters utilize more hand-drawn movements. After management was changed at Disney, Rapunzel was turned back to its original intention, and looking at what the animators have done, I'm extremely impressed. A new computer program was made just to animate Rapunzel's hair, and boy, does it look amazing. Needless to say, I'm very excited to finally see the film I've been waiting 8 years for. So far, it's been extremely well received, and I hope it does well at the box office, because Disney Animation certainly deserves it.
Who's that?
They don't like me.
Who's that?
Let's just assume for the moment that everyone in here doesn't like me.
Look out!
This is kind of an off day for me. This doesn't normally happen.
Go. Live your dream.
I will.
Your dream stinks. I was talking to her.
Though this is one of those times when I'm not sure how it will perform with audiences and whether Disney's odd marketing campaign will actually work. It could hopefully be a huge hit, it could unfortunately be a massive flop, or it could land somewhere in the middle. Just as long as Yogi Bear doesn't gross more money, as it was annoying enough that Alvin the Chipmunks outgrossed The Princess and the Frog. Disney does not deserve to be outgrossed by a CGI hybrid of an old cartoon series 2 years in a row. In conclusion, Glen Keane is one of the best animators in the business, who has proved again and again a willingness to push the medium further and further. Whether it's drawing by hand or clicking the mouse, he has certainly shown he can do no wrong. See you next time. Oh, and go and see Tangled.